Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. I'm continuing my conversation with my friend, Congressman Tom DeLay, and former majority leader, congressman who served ably for quite a while, making a difference up there. You know, and I always liked about you is I remember always making trips back to Washington, D.C. I worked up there for several years, but when I'd go back, I'd say, you know, who still believes? Who still is pursuing limited government and liberty? And all of my friends say, you know what? Tom DeLay is like a freshman. You know, he fights like a guy who knows exactly what he's doing. He's got the passion of a guy who got here yesterday. Yeah. And that, to me, I can't think of a better compliment for a member of Congress.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. I hope I was a conservative voice during the 22 years I was there. At least, if you look at my career, I'm very proud of my career in that we pushed the nation more to the right because we were there, not just me, but others that believed in the Constitution, believed in limited government, and wanted to make it happen.
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
Just run the government better.
So you and I have talked a little bit off the mic about some of the things that led to you essentially being, in my opinion, persecuted for your beliefs. Yes. I mean, did you go too far? Did you become too big of a problem? Being a freshman in your passion, accompanied with the skills to do something about that passion, did you become too big of a threat?
Yes, I became a very real threat to the Democrats. In fact, this has been going on for 18 years. Nancy Pelosi and Pat Kennedy, the son of Ted Kennedy, announced in 1995, when the Republicans took over the majority for the first time in 60 years, that they were going to take out this corrupt Tom DeLay. So I got my first ethics charges then, dismissed as frivolous. In 98, more ethics charges, dismissed as frivolous. You're getting every election year. Then I had, in 2000, a racketeering suit filed against me. Then more ethics charges in 2000. Then I was indicted by this rogue Attorney General Ronnie Earl in Austin, Texas, on a law that doesn't exist in Texas. Mm-hmm. And subsequently, and that took 9 years. It took me 5 years just to get to trial. They didn't really think that they could get me and send me to prison, but they wanted to stretch it out as long as possible. But,
it goes back to opportunity costs like we were talking about before. If you're sitting there fighting those things, that just takes away energy and time from focusing on the thing you were elected to do, and money.
That 18 years I had to raise, I'm not a rich man, and I had to raise $12 million in legal fees.
Yeah, pest control doesn't make people rich.
No.
So that that to me is a very tragic story. Actually, it's very hard to get courageous people to run if they're going to face that.
And that's their strategy. That's their political strategy.
And it's now becoming common, isn't it? There's a lot of members who are facing ridiculous.
Members, governors. Scott Walker just came out of horrible persecution. The governor of Wisconsin. There's a Congressman Rick Renzi right now that's going through the same sort of thing.
Arizona?
Arizona.
Yeah.
Ted Stevens, the senator from Alaska, did the same thing. Many staffers. It is the criminalization of politics is a political strategy by the left, and they just want to destroy you any way they can and dance on your grave. So.
Yeah. Now, in our conversations, I get the sense that specifically something that was very threatening to the left was your view of the judiciary.
Yeah.
And, Article 3 of the Constitution, for those who want to get around to reading it, says that the courts can address anything except for that which the House votes or the Congress votes to limit it from. Right. That it can be limited by. To me, a great pro-life strategy would have been the Supremes can't even talk about that. The federal courts can't talk about that. That would have been a great strategy.
I passed 5 bills that limited the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And my last year as majority leader, it drove them crazy.
Talk about that. How much of a role do you think your view of the judiciary played in the really the attack, the assault that came on you on your career?
Oh, a major role. The judge that was appointed to my trial case, the federal judges that wouldn't let me get off the ballot, making rulings that are contrary to law, the fact that Grand juries were misused and abused to get an indictment. 6 grand juries before they finally got a jury that was just sworn in to indict me on the day of statute of limitations.
They shopped that.
Yes, they did. I was even no-billed by one grand jury.
Right. It's almost like double jeopardy. You go to one,
definitely.
and then you go somewhere else. And
absolutely double jeopardy.
Yeah.
I mean, they violated the Constitution. I was tried in Austin, Texas, not in Sugar Land in my hometown. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Judiciary, the legislative bodies, Congress or the state legislature, better take a look at the judiciary because it is out of control, and there needs to be some reforms, and particularly the Congress. The Congress needs to take over the federal judiciary. They have been absent for 50 years. And when I came along, my idea was all these judges that legislate from the bench, I wanted to impeach them.
Yeah.
I may not win the impeachment, but just dragging them in front of a committee, the Judiciary Committee, would be so intimidating that they would think twice the next time they legislated from the bench.
Yeah, and essentially we have an oligarchy. We have an oligarchy now.
Exactly.
We have the court doing what should be done by the legislative group.
And first of all, it's the third weakest branch.
That's why it's the third article of the Constitution.
Exactly, and it's not supposed to really do anything except referee every now and then, especially in civil matters. But because we haven't held them accountable, because the Congress has given up its jurisdiction and its authorities in so many areas to the courts, even when they make a bad decision. I forget who it was said after a bad decision. I understand the decision. Let the Supreme Court enforce it. Just because they
Jefferson, I think said that.
Just because they make a decision doesn't mean you have to enforce it.
That's exactly
right. Or agree with it.
Jefferson said that.
Yeah.
Jefferson said it was never intended for this small body to become, essentially the tail that would wag the dog.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what it's become. Okay, so now you are heavily involved again because, you haven't changed even though your circumstances have changed. What are you doing now? What is post congressional career like now?
Well, I have been. I haven't slowed down just because I've been under this cloud. I've been blowing and going in many different directions. But basically, I'm focused on 2 things. One is spiritual revival. I believe very strongly that if we don't get God back into the public square, this country is finished. And through that, because God created this country and created those that wrote the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, I'm calling for a revolution for the Constitution. And so, my first universe is Christians.
Yeah,
I've been reaching out to Christians for the last 5-6 years, and frankly, it's working. It's not because of me. Many people are doing this. It's working because in the last election, 32% of the electorate were Christians, an all-time high, and of all the Republicans that got elected, 52% of their votes were Christians. So
that's huge.
They're coming out.
Home,
there is a revival. There's a revival going on, and I don't know if it's the third awakening, but it's happening, and people are finally figuring out what this Constitution is all about. And that if we want a country with prosperity and a future, then we better get back to the Constitution.
And rule of law. Oh, my goodness.
Amen.
I've never seen a more eloquent argument for rule of law than the last 6 years.
Amen to that.
Congressman Tom DeLay, good friend of me, good friend of this program. TomDeLay.com. There's a lot of changes going on at his website. Keep an eye out for those. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Kevin. Great being with you.
When we come back, much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here can be found over there at usdailyreview.com, and this is The Price of Business.